This is more Doug DeMuro. Today I have a big announcement. I am leaving tomorrow on a 7,000-mile road trip in my new Land Rover Defender. That's right, 7,000 miles in my new Defender. It's going to be a big trip. So let me explain what I'm doing. Okay, first, a little background. We are in the middle of a pandemic. You might be aware of this. At the same time, every New Year's, for several years now, a small group of friends and I have gone to Nantucket Island off the coast of Massachusetts to celebrate the new year. You can kind of see where I'm going with this, but I'm going to give you an explanation anyway. So, beginning tomorrow, I will be driving from San Diego, California, which is located here in the very bottom left of the United States, and I will be driving all the way to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which is located here in the very top right of America. Now, Google says this drive is 3,031 miles. However, that route sends you up through the Rocky Mountains and the Great Plains, which get hammered with snow this time of year. So instead, I'm going to take a slightly longer route to the south through Texas that's 3,158 miles total one way. So about 3,200 miles, a little less. Once I arrive, I'm going to be in Massachusetts for a couple of weeks, and then I'm going to drive back. So about 3,200 miles there, 3,200 miles back. That's 6,400 miles plus some driving around when I'm actually there. Now, your first question probably is, why? I'm sure you have a lot of whys, but I'm going to try to address them all. One is, why are you making this ridiculous drive when, you could fly? Again, I return to, we are in a pandemic. I don't really want to get COVID at all. I and my wife have some risk factors that put us at a little bit more risk than a traditional, normal, regular, healthy person. And that makes me nervous. And for job purposes as well, I really don't want to get COVID. That's true of almost everyone, but in my world, YouTube doesn't have sick days. So if I'm sick and I'm not able to film, that just means I fall kind of behind in my job. So as a result, I don't want to get COVID. Flying makes me nervous. Now, I should say, I've done a lot of research into flying right now, and the truth is it's pretty safe. After I've read every article possible about flying. Flight attendants seem to be getting COVID about the same rate as the general population, which suggests that it's not like spreading on planes dramatically more than in any other place. And countries that are mandating quarantine when people arrive and then testing them, they seem to be finding the same thing. Planes aren't like huge COVID breeding grounds like a lot of people feared initially. And frankly, I myself have proven this. I've flown 6 times since the pandemic began. Now, each time I was wearing a mask and also goggles because it can come in through your eyes, apparently. People thought this was crazy. They thought I was weird. They pointed at me, but I don't really care because I didn't get COVID and it wasn't really that bad. So I consider it to be a victory. But anyway, flown 6 times, no COVID, all is good. However, this latest COVID surge here in America is really bad, way worse than it was at the beginning when everyone was really freaked out. It's pretty much totally out of control at this point. And I just don't want to take the risk getting on a plane this time, especially around the holidays. I flew before in August and in October, and the numbers were really low, and people were really only flying if they needed to, like for work. The holidays, people are like, a larger group of people tends to get on planes, go into airports. Thanksgiving didn't really seem to slow anybody down for travel. And people go see relatives, the airports are crowded, that sort of thing. And I just don't want to be in planes and airports right now, especially at this point in the pandemic with the vaccine so close. It would be stupid to let your guard down now when we'll probably all be vaccinated in 3, 4, 5 months. And there are some other benefits, of course, to driving. One is I get to bring my dog, Noodle, with me along for the trip, which he's never been to the East Coast before or anywhere, really. And so I'm excited to see how that goes. Obviously, driving, you can also pack more stuff, which is nice. And frankly, I love road trips. I calculated this will be my 11th going out and 12th coming back trips across the country. I've done it 10 times, 11 and 12 here. And I love it. I actually truly enjoy doing it. I've done the southern route, the northern route, the middle route. I've done it all through North Dakota. I mean, I've done every trip. And I'm especially eager to do it in a car that I've barely driven, my new Defender, because the new Defender got here at the same time as the RS2, and I've been driving the RS2 a ton, and I've only driven the new Defender a couple of times, frankly, 3-4 times. And so I'm excited to really drive the new Defender and truly get to know it. I've always said the best way to get to know a new car you just bought is take it on a road trip. You will quickly find out what annoys you, what isn't working, what is working, what you really like. And so I'm gonna follow my own advice. So you're thinking, okay, fine, you don't wanna fly, I get that, but why are you driving your Defender, the least reliable vehicle in the history of the world? You know, when I posted that I bought this car, an unbelievable number of comments, it was half the comments, thousands across all my social platforms, were saying, oh, this is a terribly unreliable car. Oh, check engine light coming on soon. Oh, it's gonna be lemon lawed, bought back. Oh, these are horrible. How could you buy such an unreliable, awful, terrible vehicle? It's gonna be so bad. It's gonna break down all the time. You're constantly gonna have problems and issues and repairs, and you'll need that warranty. And I mean, blown away by the sheer number of these comments. And I was kind of surprised by all these comments. I think most of this has come from TFL, which is another YouTube channel that has a Defender, and they've had a really tough time. Their initial one had some serious issues that couldn't be fixed. Apparently it had to be replaced by Land Rover, then a dealership damaged the replacement, and so my understanding is, I haven't seen all their videos, my understanding is now they're on their third Defender, and this has gotten a lot of publicity with how unreliable and problem-filled theirs has been, and it's kind of already started to tar the Defender with the, oh, it's another unreliable Land Rover kind of brush. And so a lot of people are thinking, oh, the new Defender is a disaster, horribly unreliable, it's a terrible car because of this TFL, all these problems they've had. But personally, I just don't see it. Now keep in mind, the TFL Defender is just one Defender, one. Anecdotally, yes, this has been a problem for them. But I have many friends who own new Land Rovers, newish Land Rovers, and they don't seem to have any issues, or at least not many. Yes, Land Rover has a reputation for making disastrously unreliable cars. But more and more I've noticed that the new models, and I'm talking about when you own it during the new car warranty period, like when you're leasing it or whatever, they've been generally fine, in my understanding. Not great, not perfect. Certainly they seem to have more problems on JD Power reliability surveys, etc., but they're fine. They're certainly better than they have been. Good enough, I would say. Now, of course, as they get to 5, 6, 8, 10 years old, the warranties start expiring, we start seeing some of the same problems that crop up that have always cropped up with Land Rovers. But I have to tell you, knowing what I know now about BMW engines as they age, and frankly, even Audi and a lot of other brands' technology as it gets older, there are a lot of problems with a lot of modern cars, and I kind of wonder about longevity in modern car engineering, but that's maybe a different conversation. I'm not entirely sure that Land Rover is dramatically worse than a lot of these other brands. And of course, 8, 10 years down the road, that's not really my concern right now. This car is new, I bought it 2 months ago, it's only got 500 miles on it right now. I'm not really that worried about how it's gonna be in 8, 10 years. That's not on my radar at the moment. However, 7,000 mile road trip, if there are any issues to report, we'll certainly find out. I'm not saying it's not possible that it won't break down. It certainly is. But this isn't a Discovery 1 where it would rain and then water would leak into your dome light. You'd be driving around, the dome light is sloshing. That stuff is gone. Land Rover is better. Now your next why question might be, why are you doing this? Why are you leaving sunny, beautiful San Diego in the middle of winter and driving to the cold Northeast? And to put it simply, I'm like many of you, I am just tired of being in my home. Since the pandemic started in March, basically end of February, my wife and I have gone on one kind of vacation on the plane to go somewhere. We're very careful. That was over the summer. Other than that, we've taken a few weekend trips here and there. Like most people I know, that's been it. And I'm over it, as I'm sure most of you are, and so I just wanted to travel somewhere in the safest way possible. And this is a tradition that I've been doing with my wife and a couple of my friends for a long time, and we decided to continue it. Now, on that vein, I want to make another point here. I'm not taking this trip and this pandemic lightly. Various state governments in the US are in various stages of lockdown and quarantine, and I'm being incredibly cautious in terms of COVID safety levels. I tested COVID negative today. I'm leaving tomorrow. Massachusetts in the past had required either a negative COVID test or a 2-week quarantine before you could enter the state. It wasn't really being enforced, but you were supposed to do it. I am doing both, negative COVID test and a quarantine. I'm not seeing anybody. This road trip, I am staying only in Airbnbs that are houses, not hotels. Been sanitized. I will sanitize them myself. I'm not seeing people aside from pumping gas. There will be no visiting with people and that sort of thing. I'm being very, very, very cautious. I'm really not screwing around with this. I don't want to go somewhere and bring COVID to that place. It's totally not appropriate, obviously. And also, I don't want it myself. And so I'm taking as much precaution as I possibly can. Now, I know there's going to be people who are watching this who are going to say, well, that's ridiculous overkill. You're insane. You could easily just fly. The risks aren't high. COVID is just the flu. But you're wrong, frankly. It's just not accurate. And you don't really necessarily understand every person's risk level. So when you make statements like that, you don't necessarily understand the person standing next to you. The person you walk by on the street may have a different health situation than you do and may have to be more careful. And so I know that it's crazy to drive all the way across the country, but that is the decision I'm making for my personal health and for my family's situation. Plus, I get a fun road trip in my new car and with my dog, and I think it'll all just be great. So that is a little update from me. Like I said, leaving tomorrow. If you want to follow along on my journey, social media, Instagram at Doug DeMuro, Twitter, Facebook, all those things. I will be posting updates along the way, fuel economy, how far I've driven, maybe the car in some cool places, I don't know. And if it breaks down, obviously, I will report on that too. And when I get back from this trip, sort of beginning of January, I will report back on what has happened. Because a month from now, I will probably have one of the highest mileage new Defenders, since I will have driven it so far in this span of time. And I'll probably have more seat time than just about anybody in this new vehicle. So that's if it goes according to plan, anyway. So time for a Defender road trip. Follow along, let's see what happens.